Welcome to the Fantasy Throwdown Podcast, bringing you the latest updates from the world of sports, gambling, and pop culture. Because you can't have a show without hot takes or a Tiger King meme these days. Know what I'm saying? Now, with over 200 episodes and ready to get after it again, here's your host, Dwayne Callender.
Hello, everyone. Unpacking a late night Sunday edition of the show. A lot of chatter going on at the moment. The Eagles are going to be talked about quite a bit tomorrow. I mean, it is what it is. The Eagles literally just gave away Sunday Night Football to Washington. The benching of Jalen Hurts is going to be remembered for years to come. And while I am fine with it, I know a number of folks are going to complain endlessly about the integrity of the game. And I got news for everyone listening. There is no such thing as NFL teams not trying to lose games. This has been known for years. The fact that people keep trying to insinuate that this is something new is downright insulting. There have been so many organizations over the years pulling players, want to get a look at other talent, trying to negotiate draft positioning. Adam Gase got fired tonight by the Jets, not because he went 2-14. That's part of the reason. The reason why Adam Gase got fired is because not only did you go 2-14, you missed out on a chance of being able to draft Trevor Lawrence because you went out and guaranteed that you would not be able to get the number one pick by beating the Rams as well last week. It guaranteed his firing. I talked about this for weeks. Adam Gase was being paid to lose games by the Jets pretty much from October on, because of the way the season was breaking down for the Jets. By late October on, the Jets were basically being tasked with finding new ways of losing games every week. So this is nothing new. There are teams that go out of their way to find ways to lose games. There are teams that are just unprepared and find ways to lose games. You know, the Titans tried to give away a game to the Texans. Texans still managed to find a way to blow that game, even though they were out of it. Tennessee allowed them back into it, and the Texans still found a way to lose that game. There are teams, like the Texans have every incentive to try to win as much as they can because they didn't have any draft picks. Some organizations are just inept. They're utterly inept. The Texans, being stuck in a crappy spot with no draft picks to speak of and no future other than Deshaun Watson basically trying to tread water to get to 500 because Bill O'Brien was not only a terrible coach, but quite possibly the worst general manager in NFL history. There's a real debate between him and Matt Millen. I think he's worse than Matt Millen. But, I don't think you can say anything other than the Texans are screwed. And, all we have are our memories of Bill O'Brien and the legacy he leaves behind. Because... Yeah, it's those moments of Bill O'Brien that I will treasure the most. But, there are bad teams and bad organizations. But for anyone that just is commenting on how the NFL needs to investigate the Eagles for benching Jalen Hurts and bringing in Nate Sudfeld when they had a chance to beat Washington. I'm sorry. The Eagles are under no obligation to try to win these games. None. People can say all they want about there's no tanking in NFL games. I got news for you. There's tanking there has been tanking. It's just that this year took it to an nth degree where so many teams were bad at disguising their tanking. Like Jacksonville found like new and creative ways of benching Gardner Minshew to make sure that they wouldn't be able to find ways of staying in games. And yet still, they still had to go back to playing Minshew and then, again, taking him out again. Again, you can find ways of sabotaging players with bad play calling. There's any number of ways you can sabotage your own team. And NFL teams do this all the time. Anyone in the media trying to insinuate that this is uncommon, they are being disingenuous or just flat out lying to your face. It's just the way it is. So, the long story short, the Eagles had multiple chances to actually pull out a win here against Washington. I mean, Washington is an absolute disaster. Like Alex Smith, bless his heart, he's trying to play on one leg. One good hit, and he's retiring. No question. I think Alex Smith is retiring after this season, which will be over next week because I'm saying New England, Tampa Bay, and Tom Brady are coming in there next week, and they're going to take care of business and send Washington home. There is no chance that Washington is keeping that game competitive against Tampa. I don't see it happening. Tampa already opened up 7.5-point favorites. I'm already on that piece. That to me, that one's the most clear-cut matchup of the playoffs to be in with. But let's just talk about the Sunday slate. Derrick Henry did his thing. He got to 2,000 yards. He ran for over 244 yards, I believe it was. It was a ridiculous tally. I mean, the fact that the Texans even came back in this game is just like mind-boggling how lackadaisical Tennessee got in stretches of that game because Deshaun Watson, bless his heart, like just played his heart out. He is just let down by so many aspects of that Texans team that are beyond his control. But Derrick Henry did his thing, just a monster game. Obviously, Deshaun Watson, huge numbers. Basically, if you had exposure to the Texans and Titans in your lineups, you had a very profitable day. While I did have exposure to those players, one of my failings was I got a little bit too diversified with some of these other plays that hurt me because, I tried to not pay up for defenses and the Jets giving up like 28 points to New England. I mean, Cam Newton was the highest scoring QB of the day at 38 points. No one had that coming. Like no one played Cam. Like no one saw that Jets New England game going that way. But it is what it is. But it was downright comical. But you had Derrick Henry with 39 points. Still, I managed to get outscored by Jonathan Taylor because the Jags are just so tanking. It's like it's not even close. The lack of tackling in that game. J.K. Dobbins got there, 31 points. On the Chiefs side, Darwin Thompson had a very good showing for the Chiefs with the backup reserves. Darwin Thompson had a big game. Alexander Madison actually got there with 29 points. Just a monster day from the tight end, from the running back position with a lot of established names, and then some of the random names, because you saw just a bunch of dudes pop up. So you could have gotten there with a couple other folks, but you really needed the exposure to Henry and Taylor. Even though as popular as they were, that just made sense as a play. David Montgomery still got there for the Bears. A lot of dump offs between Mitchell Trubisky and David Montgomery. The Bears are another story. The Bears lose the game, but make the playoffs because Arizona suffers an injury to Kyler Murray. Should have been thinking about that a little bit more coming into the week. I didn't give enough attention to it because we were all focused on John Wolford playing for the Rams. And this is how you know how bad Jared Goff has been. You didn't realize the Rams offense missed a beat with Wolford at QB versus Goff, because Wolford did just as good, if not better job than Jared Goff has done the entire season for the Rams. That's how bad Jared Goff has been. No one has even heard of John Wolford before today, unless you were an avid watcher of the XFL product this year. Was it this year? Or it was in 2020. And Wolford didn't even put up great numbers. He just needed to be competent. Just distribute the ball. But this again, in terms of this slate, let's talk about some of the names on the wide receiver side. You got Brandon Cooks, 42 points, just a monster game. The run back with playing Henry and doing a run back with Cooks. That was a very correlated stack there. Worked out beautifully. Marvin Jones, 41 points for Detroit. Again, you play Justin Jefferson, put up 25 points. If you played Kirk Cousins, you like that. You had a good day. Kirk put no pass rush to deal with, put up 37 points. Like I said, out of the QBs who were actually played today, because like I said, no one played Cam Newton. Kirk was the highest scoring QB on the day. But and when it comes right down to it, Kirk was in the Millie Maker. He was in the Millie Maker lineup. The strangest thing about what went on is that the Millie Maker essentially got decided by two plays. Jerry Jeudy hit the longest pass play in the NFL this year, connection by the Broncos of all teams, because the Raiders just were asleep at the wheel defensively. It was the longest pass play in the NFL this season. I think it was 87 yards for the touchdown score by Jeudy with the slant he ran. It was beautiful. Jeudy got there with 30 points at his price tag, and A.J. Brown caught a prayer of a pass by Ryan Tannehill with less than 20 seconds to go in the game. The Texans don't have coverage over the top against the number one wide receiver for the Titans. I don't understand these teams. And again, Texans don't have anything to tank for. That's the thing. Is like some teams are just poorly run, and that's what the Texans are. It ended up being that case. So even though the guy played the Jets defense, which only got 2 points, he won the Millie Maker because, even though he didn't have Derrick Henry, played the Jets defense, he still had Jonathan Taylor. Madison got him 29.5. Cooks got him 42. Jeudy with 30. Marvin Jones 41. A.J. Brown had 34, and he got about 10 points from Gesicki. Crazy things happen. Week 17, crazy things can happen, and it panned out for him. But a couple of fluky plays, and that's what decided it. That A.J. Brown bomb at the very end that put him over the top. Won $1 million. Yeah, can't go wrong with that. But it's very comical, the hand wringing I'm seeing online, because I'm seeing Giants fans going off and going crazy about the Eagles benching Jalen Hurts. The Giants are a 6-10 team. We beat 5 backup QBs. We have 1 win against a team with a winning record, that being Seattle, which again, Seattle almost lost to the 49ers today because Seattle does really dumb things on offense that no one can understand. And I'm struggling to say this, but it's like I almost feel like just throwing in some money on picking John Wolfer, a guy we've never even heard of. The Rams playing the Seahawks next week in the wild card round. I feel good about putting money on the Rams because if Jared Goff did not play as horribly as he did last week, Rams beat the Seahawks. They would have beaten the Seahawks. Seattle is not playing well. They're making very, no one can understand the way Seattle's running. Seattle ran the ball 27 times for 121 yards. Yes, they average 4 yards a carry, but they're not efficient. They don't break out long runs, and they keep bad teams in games. Seattle had to basically scramble to beat the 49ers in a gotta-have-it game. They had to have it. Russell Wilson had to pull out some tricks in the fourth quarter. They had to put up 20 points in the fourth quarter to beat the 49ers 26-23. A 49ers team down to their third-string QB. I'm telling you, Seattle is the play calling for Seattle is just bad. They keep bad teams in games, and the Rams, even though, again, they're on their backup QB, the Rams D-line, Aaron Donald, is going to give Seattle problems. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I may have to take the Rams in that playoff matchup next week. And I still have to do research on their QB. I still don't know who this Wolfer guy is. That's the crazy thing. It is absolutely crazy. But, on Saturday, we've got the Colts traveling to Buffalo because, Miami getting blitzed by the Bills today. I mean, Tua was bad today. I mean, I had concerns, but the Bills played their backups for most of the second half, and Miami still couldn't do anything against the Bills defense. I mean, it was just bad. But yeah, the Bills hosting the Colts. You know what I always say about the Colts. Phillip Rivers is the second best quarterback on his team. The Colts win in spite of him. The Colts were still keeping this game close against the Jags, even with Jonathan Taylor running for almost 200 yards. Jonathan Taylor ran for 253 yards. And it was still a tight game in the fourth quarter. I mean, I know people want me to try to not pile on the Colts and say that and give them credit where credit's due, but I don't think the Colts are that very good. I think they have talent. I think they get held back. I think Frank Reich is a very good coach, but I think they limit themselves. I really do. I think Brissett should be the QB. I keep watching this team and I keep saying to myself, I don't see any juice there that could get them over the hump in a playoff game. This would require the Bills to completely implode. Buffalo, and again, Stephon Diggs has turned Josh Allen into a Pro Bowl QB. Everyone keeps talking about how good Josh Allen is. No, it's how good Stephon Diggs is. Because Diggs is getting wide separation, and it's allowing Allen to throw down the field, which is what he's best at. people could say, well, they have other receivers too. Yes, but Stephon Diggs draws so much attention from the defense that it makes life so much easier for all those other guys that it's just making it very easy for Josh Allen to be as efficient as he is. That's really the long and short of it. Bills still have an excellent defense. This is going to come down to, can the Colts make enough plays defensively to make this a game? Because I don't think Indy's offense can do much against the Bills' defense. Jonathan Taylor, he can run it up there, but I think best case scenario, he gets about a little under 4 yards to carry, and that's not going to cut it. They're going to need big passing plays, and I just don't see it happening with Phillip Rivers. So definitely like Buffalo. Buffalo opened up. Just had the lines here. It was, let's see. Yep, Bills 6.5-point favorites over the Colts. The 4:00 window, you got Rams 4.5-point underdogs against the Seahawks. This is closer to a pick'em game. I can't believe I'm going to be considering putting money on the Rams, but this game is very much in doubt. I don't see I don't see why it can't be an upset for the Rams. I really don't. I think Seattle is just backsliding, and people are going to pick Seattle because they're going to look at it and say it's Russell Wilson. No way Seattle loses this one. And I'm looking at the play calling, and I'm saying, yeah, very much Seattle can lose this one. This is how they lost to the Giants. I can definitely see them putting up another stinker offensively and not getting there, and then kind of scrambling, and it doesn't work out. But, I've seen this play out with Seattle. I'll leave it at that. And then the Saturday night at 8. This is the woodshed game. Tampa, even though they're the road team, they are 7.5-point favorites against Washington. Like I said, Washington needed Philly to forfeit in the second half by benching Jalen Hurts to win the NFC East. Even if you've got Mike Evans done for the year with his knee injury, you still have a Tampa team with Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin, and they have Gronk, and they have a plethora of other weapons. They're going to give Washington fits. Now, can Chase Young disrupt with the pass rush and make Tom Brady miserable? Yes, but Tampa can also throw the ball quickly enough and get it out of Brady's hands that Chase Young's not going to be a factor. And, I look at this as a game where, yeah, can Tampa struggle early? But there's not enough points coming from Washington that would give them any trouble. The Giants would have been a tougher matchup for Tampa than Washington. And you know what I think of the Giants being an awful football team. So this one easily matches the game. Like the minus 365 line, the Saints are minus 435, and the Bucs are only minus 365 against Washington. The Saints have a much trickier matchup. I got some questions on these lines. I can't believe I'm even saying this, that like the Bears are very much in play as a live dog. But you've got Tennessee hosting Baltimore to start the Sunday wild card games. Baltimore 3.5-point favorites, even though they're on the road against Tennessee. Tennessee beat Baltimore last year. I hope people remember this, that Tennessee bullied Baltimore and beat the Ravens. this is not it. This is not a cakewalk game for the Ravens at all. I'm looking at this one, and I know how bad Tennessee's defense is, but I know Derrick Henry can smash that Ravens defense. We've seen this story play out before. Derrick Henry is on a roll right now, and you're telling me I can get the Titans as a home dog against the Ravens? Man, this is I definitely see some parlay opportunities here between playing taking the Tampa money line, taking the Titans, and taking the Bears spread. This should be interesting. But yeah, Titans 3.5 point underdogs at home against Baltimore. Yeah, sign me up. I just can't look past that one. Definitely sign me up for it. I'm definitely up for it. But we could talk about some of these matchups, but when it comes right down to it, we're going to get some very interesting looks here because I definitely see the public coming in on the Ravens and kind of ignoring the fact that the Titans are a bad matchup for the Ravens. Point blank, the Titans running attack is a bad matchup for the Ravens. So take with that what you will, but I definitely think the Titans have more than a good 50-50 odds of winning that game. I think the Titans should be favored, to be perfectly blunt. I don't agree with the line at all. Bears traveling to the Saints. Listen, we can say all we want about how bad Mitchell Trubisky is, and what we've got with the Bears. Like they're not good. But the truth of the matter is that as it stands, you've got a Bears team that can play defense. You've got a Saints team that's got Drew Brees that still is struggling to throw the ball efficiently. I watched him play again today against Carolina. He's still struggling to throw the ball with velocity and down the field. There is some legit concerns. If I'm a Saints fan, I have legit concerns about this team heading into postseason. You're not sure if you got Michael Thomas available. I don't necessarily see a route where you're going to be very comfortable taking the Saints as a 9.5 point favorite. I just don't agree with these lines. I really don't. So while I think the Saints win this game, 9.5 points, that's way too many points. I got to take the Bears. I got to take the Bears at 9. If you're giving me the Bears at 9.5, I got to take it. It just kind of comes down being that simple. I just think that it makes way too much sense to take the Bears with that much of a spread, and not overthink it. So that brings us to the final game of the Wild Card Weekend next week. Browns traveling to the Steelers, and Steelers 3.5 point favorites. Here's the thing, and I talked about this before. As incompetent as the Browns operate at times, they have all the pieces to make a playoff run because I see a lot of weakness in the AFC. The Browns have the capabilities of making a playoff run in the AFC. They really do. And Pittsburgh has issues. They really have issues because they're very predictable on offense. Ben, while he had that sucking half comeback against Indianapolis, he still struggles putting zip on that ball. He showed that he can make 2 throws. I don't know if you put Ben under enough pressure where he's got to make multiple throws on a long drive together if he can actually do it. I have my doubts. So I really think that this kind of comes down to, can the Browns avoid turnovers, keep this game close, let their defense do the work, and run it down the Pittsburgh Steelers defense throat? Because what we've seen with the Steelers defense is they get worn down in the second half of games, and it becomes very easy to get chunks of yardage on the ground against the Steelers defense. So if Cleveland keeps this game close and get this into the fourth quarter, I think Cleveland wins this game outright. I again, being a 3.5 point dog, I think they're a live dog, but I think we got a couple of live dogs this weekend. This is, from a betting perspective, I very much like this slate of games because I definitely think you've got some biases creeping through with the way some of these lines were initially set up. So this is definitely serving up to be a very interesting wildcard weekend slate. So I'll leave it there. But just a wild day of NFL, but encapsulated by the Eagles tanking and knocking the Giants out of the postseason, dashing their postseason dreams. I gotta laugh because people getting upset about the Eagles tanking when the Eagles have no incentive to actually win that game, and pulling Jalen Hurts when it was apparent that Jalen Hurts might actually pull out a victory there when they really were just trying to run out the string. Philly basically saved themselves 3 draft spots, so they get the 6th pick. It's instead of if they had won, they would have gotten the 9th pick in the draft. But there's just nothing in man. There's just so many takes from people just on Twitter, just going in on the Eagles. I don't think people just need to understand, the NFC East shouldn't have any playoff teams. There's no way of justifying an NFC East team making the playoffs this year. They were all inept at what their actual jobs are. End of story. All right. We're gonna call it a day. Just gonna call it a day because, reading some of these posts is just it's just comical. It's just too comical. From the ex-players being horrified to the announcers, it's just so overdone. So I'll leave it here. Have a good one, folks, and we'll catch you around another time. Later.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Throwdown Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all other major outlets.